Everyone is still looking for answers. They're still trying to make sense of the whole thing, the Delhi gang rape incident. And I've been meaning to get, so I've tried to get, several different voices on it, on the legal side, on the policing side, even on the sociology side to figure out gender inequity. And this morning I have a psychologist with me, Pulkit Sharma. He is... He's a clinical psychologist, and his areas of special interest are psychoanalysis, self-growth and personality development, trauma, unconscious conflicts. He works with the police quite a bit, and he's with Wim Hans. He's a consultant clinical psychologist over there, and apart from that, he's contributed a lot of articles and input for a lot of newspapers and leading newspapers, and he's authored 16 research papers in psychology. He's a coordinator for promoting mental health in street children at Don Bosco, and he's done a whole lot of stuff, conducted workshops, guest lectures, etc., etc. He's with me this morning, okay? And I want to establish the kind of person I have with me on the show this morning. Pulkit, good morning. How are you doing?
I'm doing very fine, thank you.
Okay, I hope that was a solid introduction.
That was too solid an introduction.
Okay, all right. So, coming down to this, which everyone, I think, like I said, is still trying to make sense of these 6 guys.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, 6 people who are currently... apparently they're really scared where they are.
They ought to be now.
Yeah, they ought to be now. But how do you get scared now and are so brazen at the time when you're attacking someone? How do you do that?
True. See, these people, victimizers like the ones we have had, they have a very peculiar mindset. Okay, and I'll just reflect a bit on that. See, very common characteristics that these people have generally are, one...
Yeah, we're trying to draw a picture, right, of this person.
One, they are like very impulsive. Like most of us will have like many fantasies, many wild wishes, but we keep them in check. We don't act them
on
out.
them. Okay.
But these people, they find it very hard. I would say that they have minimal self-control at times. That they have not yet developed, so they can be very raw, aggressive, sexually they can be very raw.
Working with their baser instincts.
Yeah.
And then alcohol only allows them to...
allows it to escalate.
Right.
Secondly, it so happens that these people are also, I would say, very narcissistic in some sense. That they don't have empathy or sensitivity for other people.
Okay.
They just consider people as need-satisfying objects. Something they can simply use and throw. So that's why I think everyone is struck by this thing that how can someone be so barbaric and so brutal? These people are.
Yeah, the brutality of the crime is astounding.
Certainly, because they see, they are not seeing the other person as a human being, but as simply a thing.
Yeah, an object.
An object. Yeah. Thirdly, that they also have high disregard for rules, regulations and conventions. There's something very close to what we in technical terms at times called psychopathic or antisocial personality structures. So they think that I would also say that in their childhood, in their young age, most of these people have been bullies. They have been out of school. They have who tampered with the law.
Possible that they've been abused themselves.
Yeah, true.
Right.
That
turbulent, tumultuous homes. Domestic life.
Certainly, because it so also happens, that when you carefully look at a victimizer from their background, in most backgrounds you will find a history of trauma. Because you have to get a very unfortunate experience to lose out on empathy and sensitivity, which is a part of basic human nature.
Right. Okay. If you've not been shown any, then how are you going to okay. We're trying to understand, some of these elements who are in our society, not to be a bleeding heart, but just to figure it out, because I know for so many people, we've been trying to make sense of everything that has taken place at the end of 2012. I'm going to come back again with Pulkit Sharma. We've got so much to talk about, whether we can even profile these people, whether we can even try and understand people are walking around in our society. But yes, we're trying to make sense of it, because in so many minds, it's still fresh. We're still trying to understand what took place, and we're still trying to understand people who walk around in society who do things like this, who commit these kind of crimes and these kind of acts. Pulkit, we were talking about the 17-year-old in particular, right? And our law right now does not treat him on par with the other 5 accused.
Certainly.
Okay, he goes to a juvenile home, all of that. and the law is kind of different, is very much different, as a matter of fact, and everyone's up in arms about that.
True.
And clamoring for a change, because they're like, he's 17 or 17 and a half. You know, if he was 18, the law would be very different for him. So on a technicality of just 6 months or so, this boy pretty much walks free. So what is a 17-year-old doing in a place like this, in a situation like this? And do we have to be looking at him differently?
Well, see, I think that, that...
Is he really young? A child?
See, it is very difficult to say, and I think that the law needs to relook at this, because you cannot simply have a very arbitrary point that, that if someone is 17 years, 6 months or 10 months, he's given a totally different deal. And the moment, say after 2-3 months, that person turns 18, is given a very different deal. Now, how do you explain that? How can someone change so much in like 5 months or 6 months or 2 months?
So radically, yeah.
I think that there should be a kind of a gradation in this, that you would kind of say you can have different laws for someone who I would say is under 12, because that is a very young age. Then like slightly stricter
So you
laws.
establish a base age from when they're culpable,
certainly.
and then you move from, punishment harsher to harsher to whatever.
Because also that this law is very old, and if you see that these days the way the exposure is, children and everyone in general, they...
So a 17-year-old from here would be very different from a 17-year-old
back
from
40 years or 30 years.
anywhere. Oh yeah, even previously. So we really need to be looking at this law anew, right?
Right. I don't really buy this, that someone can be an adult, someone can grow from a child to adult in just 5 months. How can that be possible?
Okay. Now I'm reading something which says that no psychological testing has been done for the accused as yet.
Right.
Isn't that necessary? I mean, shouldn't we be understanding this better?
I think that that's necessary from several perspectives. Firstly, we need to have an understanding of the criminal mind so that we can plan, better punishments, we can plan better preventions, we can equip people better to identify and deal with these people. If we are kind of, if we are at the end of the day, if someone also wants to talk about reforms, you also need to have a baseline that this is this person's baseline, and after
this
the
is what he
punishment or
requires.
the reforms, this is the change we are looking for.
Right,
You can't simply put someone in for 4 years or 5 years and then say
basically, the more I look at it, the psychology is very critical. In fact, to be applied to criminal behavior.
Yeah.
Right?
It certainly is.
Okay.
And I think that we also need the understanding of, the criminal mind, so as to also make the potential victims more aware, that how can they identify such people, how can they deal with such people if they are, caught up in such situation.
Right. We'll talk about that. Pulkit, actually, can you spot an antisocial element? Can you even know who we're dealing with when we get about our regular lives? Is it possible?
It is very difficult, but I think that if you pay a lot of attention to it over a period of time, you can develop certain skills to identify them.
I know I don't want to rush you, but we are limited. So if you were to really quickly, just mention some certain characteristics that one should look out for.
Right. See, most of the times these people would be, as I said, that they would come across as very impulsive. They would at times have a certain charisma around them, right? And then they would be also, I think that, when we are trying to identify someone like that, I'll come to it, it's a very important thing. One should also pay attention, if someone is into that situation, you should pay attention to your own instinctive responses as well.
And also coming down to what you were mentioning about instincts. Okay, it sounds very like something from that world.
Spiritual or something like that.
Yes, I know, but it's important.
It's not, though, see, what I would say is that in this whole deal, that we in the present lifetime have started working a lot with our conscious mind, and we always say that we need to be brave and we need to face all situations. Now, what generally happens is that whenever anyone gets into any threatening situation, your instinctive responses come up very quickly,
very quickly,
much more before your conscious mind realizes,
takes over.
That you would get this feeling that there's something not right or there's something wrong.
Which is why in a situation you can't think, right?
Yeah, right. And
you can't work with your conscious mind, but it's your unconscious that's telling you there's danger here.
I think that it's very important that people pay attention to that. You know,
those instincts.
It is one thing to be scared and to be a coward, but it's a very different thing to pay attention to your instincts.
Right, to get out when you can.
When you can, you know that. And I would tell people that as soon as you get this feeling that there's something wrong, get out of that situation.
Get out, so it doesn't escalate and reaches a point beyond which you cannot redeem it. Right. So that's the message that Pulkit is trying to make, and he said, you know, appreciate and act on your instincts. The moment something's telling you there's a red sign over there, get out. Don't try to be brave, hang around, or think that maybe you're just imagining
it's a figment
things.
Of imagination.
Yes,
it's not.
Right? Instincts, work on those, because those are going to take you a long way. We're going to come back again to try and figure out how we can hone these skills of ours, and also try and figure some things out more in that area, because we do need to be more prepared. We do. Coming up right now, about this morning, I've got clinical psychologist Pulkit Sharma. He's with me in the studio from Wim Hands, and we're talking about which ever since this gang rape took place, we're trying to make sense of it. On what makes a person do the things they do, and as a victim, a regular person, how do you protect yourself? How do you get out there and watch out, for these antisocial elements that might be around? So, Pulkit, actually, we were talking about instinct and honing your instincts and acting on them, right? Now, if you are caught in a situation, an unfortunate, threatening situation, is there any way for you to make it out of it?
You can do some of the things in that situation, but before I come to that, I will also like to admit that it's very easy for me or anyone to say out those things. Sitting here in this cozy office, but it's very different. It's very difficult. It would be for me also if I'm trapped in a threatening situation. So I'm just saying these things so that people can keep
reinforcing it in your mind,
and then maybe try to follow these things as much as they can in that situation.
Because just like self-defense, there's mental self-defense.
There's mental self-defense.
Right. So go on, tell me.
I think that one very important thing would be that whenever you feel scared, don't try to suppress that response, or don't try to tell yourself very falsely that you are brave. You can be brave. Just admit to yourself that yes, you are scared and fear is there, right? And because then when you are in tune with your feeling, that itself gives you a strength to move on. Right. And secondly, if you are in such a situation, what you could do is, generally what happens is that the person gets, because they are trying to suppress their fear, they get so scared. And when someone feels very scared in this, in such a situation, the assaulter or the victimizer starts feeling very powerful. So try,
which is what they're seeking.
They're actually seeking a total control.
Domination. Right.
So try to be firm and assertive in that situation. At the same time, just try to watch out what you are saying, because in many cases, if you also say something that is provocative, or that pinches the person, then they really retaliate very aggressively. So be firm, assertive, be vigilant, and as I said, pay attention to your instinctive responses. That is very important. I think that all people need to cultivate this thing, to pay attention to their instincts.
All right.